And we are live. Gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Mecca Banter podcast. And holy shit, do we have an episode for you all this week. Don't get me wrong, after the weekend Premier League games, we had an amazing episode lined up for you. But the Clasico happened, some major Manchester United news happened. We have some crazy U.S. men's national team news to announce. I mean, this episode is just jam-packed start to finish, so buckle up. A lot of great things are happening. Dopes, welcome back to the pod, brother. First of all, I feel like you haven't been here in forever, but how you doing?
What's going on, fellas? It's good to see you boys. It's kind of funny. I feel like every week I listen back to this podcast and I'll just sit and I just my face gets more red and red, some of the dumb shit that I've heard. So I'm happy to be back. It's a sad day though, fellas. You know, Ten Hag, despite being more successful than Chelsea, Arsenal, and Spurs over the last 2 years, he's gone, fellas. So we'll dive into that a little bit. It's a sad day for us United boys, but at the same time, there's always two sides of that. Maybe it's a good day for us. We'll see. Good to see you.
Two sides of the coin. I'm glad to have my United brother back. We'll reignite the United corner later this episode.
We're all stoked. Yeah, absolutely stoked.
Yeah, we're all pumped. Woo! Hey, Fee, bro, how you doing?
You know, as the only host with 3 points this weekend, I'm feeling fantastic. And it was large in part due to the player of the weekend, Mr. Cole Palmer.
Oh my God, you're the only one with 3 points. That sucks.
That does suck.
That's
I know
it was a bad weekend.
That's bad. That's bad. What's going on, man?
Another day, man. Another day back at it. Happy to be here. Young Yid on Twitter. I had the pleasure of watching some football this weekend at Amsterdam Tavern with Nikki and some friends, Max Lipple, Newcastle guy, Jack Halliot. 2 shout outs from that specific event. Watching Max Lipple try and split the G on a Guinness at 10:30 in the morning was priceless. Absolutely hysterical. I loved every second of it. And then quick other shout out to the only Crystal Palace fan there at the bar, which impressive in itself. Got to see his team's first win of the year. Good for him. So glad about that. Great stuff. But
Right next to us too. It was hilarious.
And he was nice. You know, I had no beef with him. Good for he. I was being a Crystal Palace fan way worse than being a Spurs fan. So you know, credit to him. Carry on, lad. Yeah, happy to
That's
be here,
hilarious. And last but certainly not least, Mr. Winkleman, how we doing?
What's up, boys? Good to be back. I agree this is going to be a jam-packed episode, but I did want to remind everyone that everybody over at Real Madrid is a fucking wank, that they can get spanked 4-0 by Barcelona and El Clasico on Saturday and then not show up to the Ballon d'Or award ceremony. I think Rodri winning was exactly what needed to happen and is a really good representation that, you know, the best player in the world doesn't have to be the one that scores all the goals. So excited to dive into that.
Big win for defensive midfielders everywhere.
Modern football.
Yeah,
for sure.
The Sixes unite. Well, like we said, ladies and gentlemen, we have a jam-packed episode for you today. But starting off with some really exciting news. At the Mecca Banter, we are proud to announce that we are working with the U.S. men's national team for the upcoming game in St. Louis, Missouri against Jamaica on November 18th. Kind of a cool partnership that we were able to finesse and connect with them, and we're working alongside them to get people to the stadium. So we will have a discounted link for you to click on our bio, on our socials. If you want to go to the game and you want to hang out with the Mecca Banter, you'll get some really nice tickets at a cheaper rate. So cool. We've all been such a fan of the national team for as long as we can remember. And we became an even bigger fan of the national team as soon as Greg Berhalter was gone. And so now being able to work with them on this level is just, it's sick.
Yeah, I think that as soccer fans, you got to be excited about Pochettino coming to the organization. And so equally as exciting, the game's going to be played, like Hen said, at City Park. So what a cool place to be able to, you know, watch this new men's national team play, you know, at our home stadium. So,
But also not a friendly. Like that's
it's
it's a real game.
second leg. But still should be good. If you want to see a grown man get emotional at some football, find me on Monday, November 18th. I promise you, this is going to be a heavy moment for who? The manager that is now taking the team that I know and love, my country that I've supported since I was a child, to the World Cup. Also behind the manager that took Spurs to the farthest that I've ever seen as a fan in some of the most fantastic fashion. My favorite personal manager, like, I'm going to cry, real tears. So when I see him step out on that pitch, find me. It may be hilarious, maybe a photo op, but yeah, we're serious about it over here. So pick up the ticket.
Who would have thought, man? Two Spurs legends that come to City Park. First Hugo came this year, and now we got Mauricio.
I was emotional watching Hugo, bro. I sent a tweet on the burner, and I was like, I'm seeing him in person tonight in St. Louis, Missouri. I was like, is there anything anyone wants me to get to him? And one of the responses I got was, get the drink in, Captain. And I for sure made sure to yell at him for that. So
I'm honestly a little surprised you didn't run on the pitch during that game and just said
that would have been the one.
F it.
That would have been the one. I think this one, more likely than not, I'm way more attached to those players and that manager. So
it was cool. What's cool with these tickets is, the U.S. Soccer, they've been really kind to us. They've given us like really great choices all around the stadium. So whether you want to be in like the supporter section or you want to get tickets right along the field or right behind the players' benches, you have opportunities to get each one of those seats. So click the link in our bio. I want to encourage everyone to click the link in our bio to get yourself some discounted tickets to that game on November 18th. And shout out U.S. Soccer. So we have a couple more things coming over the next couple of weeks. We have some raffles coming up. So make sure you're checking our socials for your chance to win some complimentary tickets on behalf of U.S. men's national team and the Mecca of Banter. So super stoked to announce that we're working together, and let's get in. Let's get it.
Yeah.
Come on, lads.
Come on.
Premier League. So much shit to dive into this week, and I think I want to start with Manchester United. Manchester United loses to West Ham 2-1 in the final moments of the game. First things first. What a bullshit penalty call. For those of you that didn't watch the game, Manchester United absolutely took it to West Ham in the first half, created so many chances, hit the crossbar twice. Garnacho missed wide a million times. Delo missed a sitter. Crazy.
I was going to say that's polite to say it was a sitter. It was a tap in.
Yeah, open net.
Like, we're watching this
and score.
Yeah, we're watching this over and over, and you just knew that it was coming, that West Ham was going to score, that we were going to concede, which we did, and then we get a goal back, and sure enough, in the final minutes of the game, there was a collision, you could say, in the box. The ref on field calls nothing, because it was nothing, and then the VAR says, hey, there might be contact. You might want to look on it. And they look at it for 6 minutes, and then they decide that there was a penalty, completely deciding to ignore the handball that Danny Ings had on the ball, and United loses 2-1. Dobes. Now what?
It's honestly, man, it's same old. I think one, I've never universally seen a call be agreed that it's never in a million years a pen. And the fact that we do this week in and week out of it's clear and obvious, then you call it. If you got to look at the monitor for 5 minutes, it's not clear and obvious. Regardless of that song and dance, this game doesn't come down to that PK decision. You hit the nail on the head when 2 minutes in the game, Garnacho, I'm still so high on just him and his ability, but top of the box, you one-on-one, hit the frame, man. Put the ball in the back of the net. We missed 4 or 5, and I'm not just talking Delo's was obviously the most outrageous one of all of them, but we had 4 or 5 point-blank chances that you simply have to score. Ten Hag in that first half, coached to 5-0, 4-0. We set up perfectly. We're pinging the ball around. We're moving the ball well. And that's one of those things. If you log on to United Twitter at halftime, every single person that's ever known soccer knows exactly how this game goes, right? You don't take your chances. You leave the other team in the game. West Ham had dangerous guys in the counter, right? They didn't even have Kudus this game. He didn't even play. but they still had dangerous guys in Bowen, in Bowen and Antonio, and they capitalized. They took their chances, and sure enough, it's one of those where no, it's never a PK in a million years. But at the same, like we put ourselves in that situation, like we put ourselves in a 1-1 game, and we could have been up 4 or 5-0, and honestly, game could have been done by halftime. We could have been game done by game, should have been done by halftime. Leicester midweek, and we move. But at the same time, it's kind of been the story of our season. Like I sent that thing in the Mecca where we lead the league and missed big chances. Like we've missed 22 big chances out of with Spurs.
Right behind you guys.
Top of the league. You'll never sing that. But yeah, I mean, it's the story. It's kind of the story of our season. And at the end of the day, like I don't think that this single event cost Ten Hag his job, but I think at the end, for just fans in general, was the nail in the coffin. Like we're sick and tired of lackluster second halves or lackluster first halves or conceding a goal for this team to wake up. So yeah, I mean, ton of issues, ton of problems. It's bad when like I would have been happy with the draw. Like I 100% would have been happy with the draw. Let's just stay where we're at, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. I hate the term Spursy more than anything, but probably out Spursy performance.
It really was.
I've seen so much of that exact same game happen to me that as soon as that Dallo one didn't go in and we watched Nikki and I saw the first goal, or the equalizer, we were both like, something feels like they might blow this. It was always on the
We've been clamoring this entire season for Bruno Fernandes to be Bruno Fernandes, and we saw the flick in the last game. And this was the first time in the first half where he balled. He controlled the game. He dropped in deep as a playmaking 6. He played as a 10. Should have had 3 assists in like 30 minutes, and nobody finished the chances. And then all of a sudden, it's game over. It's literally as simple as that.
Bruno impressed me, and I don't think I've ever said that ever.
Yeah, I mean, you're a tough critic with him, for sure.
Yeah,
sure. Yeah. And the thing is just like you said, Dobes, like this has been the story of the season, but you just can't keep doing this over and over and over and over. And what's so sad, and I guess we can just get into it, the fact that Ten Hag was sacked this morning, now's the time to talk about it before we dive into anything else. Like, for those, I mean, Dobes, do you feel like it was the right decision? Is it the right time for that?
But honestly, I think it's perfect in the fact that I still think that there's time in the way of if we do bring in Ruben Almiron or not, which it's looking like we are, I think there's enough time and we have a squad to get something out of it to where I do think we just got to the point where we couldn't keep dropping points. Like right now, we're 6 points off of Chelsea. We beat Chelsea at the weekend. We're 3 points off of Chelsea. Like there's still positives to build on. We can still qualify for Europe. But I think it just got to the point where fans were sick of more of the same. Like I think he earned the right to come back this year after winning the FA Cup last year. I think he definitely earned that. But when you start the season, how you start the season, regardless of who's out and who's not out, like it's one of those things where it's just like it had to happen.
I feel the same way. And I wanted it so badly for him. Dobes and I were like texting each other this morning after the news was dropped. And it's funny, if you like go back, not that any of you would, but if you go back in our text thread from years ago, like during the Solskjaer reign of United, Dobes and I both like really wanted Ten Hag. Like we really wanted him from the get-go. We loved his style at Ajax. We were so impressed with him as a manager.
You want a hot take? He'd be perfect for Man City.
Yeah. Like, I mean, fucking unbelievable. And it just didn't work. For one reason or another, it didn't work. And at the beginning, like I remember that season 1, like there was so much of the Glazers that we could blame. And season 2, like, there was injuries that we could blame. But now you're getting into season 3 and there's still tons of injuries. Don't get me wrong. When you look at the list of injuries for United, it's hilarious. It's like Chelsea from last year, but like nothing was changing. The substitutions weren't changing. The tactics weren't changing. The style of play wasn't changing. So I feel like, I don't know, I felt like this morning I was like driving into work. I was like, I feel like I just went through a breakup, like where we both know that it's best for us to see other people, but it doesn't change the fact that we shared some really great memories.
I texted Hen. I went to get my coffee this morning, a quick trip. I drove, turned my car off, shut the garage, and sat in my car listening to like soccer news for like 25 minutes and just didn't move. I came back in my house at like 8:30. Like, it's just one of those things. It's like so bad we want it to work. And I think the story of Ten Hag's tenure is like, yes, he won 2 trophies. I don't necessarily think it's a failure, but I think when you break down his entire tenure, it was never consistency. It was like moments, right? It was
Yeah.
like Chelsea 4-1 at home, Anthony's winner against Barcelona, Kobe Maino's FA Cup final goal, like Amad Diallo to beat Liverpool. It was never consistency. It was, we had these games of brilliant moments and we had these really high highs, but the lows and the highs it was never consistency in the middle. And it's like, I think that, and if you hear everybody who's worked with him say he's a top class manager, I think the one thing that I would have loved to see more from him is like passion. Like, because I think players feed off of that. And I'm not even talking yell and scream on the touchline, but like, he really is just such a boring guy. Like even Pep, like he is, like even Pep, who like, on the sidelines, you've seen him kick the seat or fucking throw a water bottle. It's like, do something. Like he just stands there with like the little fucking like Rizzler, just like sitting there with his fucking hands on his chin, like not mad. But it's like, it's true. It's like, I wanted to see some fire. And I think that like, as a player, you feed off of your coach as much as like, yes, you have to bring your own intensity. So much you feed off of your coach. And like, he can say all the right things. He can give all the right principles. He can have the perfect plan designed for who you're going to play against. The X's and O's are going to work. But at the end of the day, if your manager doesn't have like passion, like you feed off of that. And I firmly believe that's where he went wrong. Is we see that in the team. When you watch, a bunch of these guys seem like they don't care. And I think that directly comes from some of his attitude. So I think it was time to go.
Yeah, I think it's time too. As much as I hate to say it, and I supported him all the way until the very end. And as Dobes alluded to in the chat earlier today, you can support him for while he was here, but now he's gone, and now we move. And we move to what looks like the manager from Sporting Lisbon. Nikki?
I was going to say, I had 2 things on this. One, I think Dobes mentioned it a while ago, and I think he's still right about it, but it hasn't been said, is United wasn't going to do it unless they had their guy. And I think with what you just said, I feel like that's probably going to happen, because I feel like United wouldn't sack him if they didn't have that backup already like immediately ready. I also think Roy Keane might be a shout. I've seen some like, I don't know if Twitter is completely... in your Twitter, they're just saying that would be an immediate
just to like wake the players up.
Literally just have to scream at them for like
Roy Keane on an interim would be nuts.
One of the things that I think that where I think Ineos directly set him up for failure is, one, the fact that you speak to all these managers in the summer, never a good sign. 2, the fact that you hire Ruud van Nistelrooy, who left the managerial job to come be his assistant, with the rumors that if he did get sacked, he would become the interim. Like, there's all these sort of signs that believe like, we're going to back him, but at the same time, they don't really trust him. And I feel like a lot of fans like read through that at the same time. Like, if it worked out this year, they could be like, we should have kept with them. But now they have the opportunity to be like, all right, you're gone, Ruud, you're in. Let's go find him.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I will say, Nikki, to your first point of like, you feel like United wouldn't have sacked him unless they had their guy. United has done that consistently for the last several coaches, where they've sacked someone, interim manager, and they don't know who it's going to be.
Yeah.
I was shocked today when Ornstein dropped the bomb that like we were as close as what it sounds like we are with Ruben Amorim from Sporting, because we sacked Ten Hag this morning, and by 11 a.m. Central Time, we were already heavy links to Ruben, saying that deal's basically done, and United is going to play the 10 million release clause so we can get him in immediately. That was surprising to me, and to me that shows that Ineos is learning potentially from previous tenure, or learning from mistakes even. But no doubt that when they look back on their whole tenure of owning the football club, they'll look at kind of making that public news of talking to other managers in the summer, and they'll look at that as a regret. There's no doubt.
Part of me also thinks that, and I've seen this everywhere too, that like Ugarte was not a Ten Hag signing. He was an Ineos signing. Like, because Ten Hag likes more like a Frankie de Jong, not like a fucking brute. He likes on the ball, likes to play. And like, I'm around, like, he played for Sport, right? Like, Ugarte played for Sporting for, like, that's where he started his career, right? Then he moved to PSG. Honestly, like, was he probably my top option? Amorim? No. But like, when you look at what he's done back-to-back, like, titles in Portugal, they have not lost this year. They've scored 30 goals in the league, only conceded 2. Like, there's a lot of promise there. It's just some of my like questions is about the fact like we still have deadwood that we have to get rid of.
Yeah, I was about to say
Like we
it's so
still
much
have
deeper than your
play.
man.
Yeah, we still have play. Like we still don't have a healthy left back. Like not a single healthy left
Hey,
back on the roster.
You won't need one when you're playing a 3-5-2. So
Well,
Yeah,
that's the
but-
thing. It sounds like we're
yeah.
doing a 3-4-3. That's what it
3-4-3.
sounds like.
Right.
Yeah.
that's
So we'll
new.
see. I mean, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. And honestly, like, I know that we've taken up, 15 minutes just on this podcast to talk about it, but I feel like once the announcement is made official, Dobes, we owe the Mecca moment maybe on what we can expect for United for the rest of the season and what this means for top four, what this means for European competition. But like you said, we have Leicester on Wednesday. So we move. We'll see what Rude does. I have no idea what 11 we're going to field, but
I'm so excited for Rude though. Like I know that he's not the permanent option, but just the fact that like he's a baller for us, he's going to coach us. It's got a little bit of Ole vibes. Like I don't
Felt
just
a
stay
little
for a
bit.
long time, but I
Frank.
like that you're here.
yeah, just, can't stay for a long time. But moving on, Chelsea, Nikki, as you mentioned, the only 3 points of this crew belong to you. And talk about the main man, Cole Palmer, because he deserves to be talked about once again in this game. A 2-1 victory over those fucks, Newcastle United.
Yes, this one felt good. I think he heard or listened to our podcast last week when
Definitely listen to our podcast. Cole Palmer is a weekly listener.
100%. That's why I wanted to mention that. But he definitely heard us because he had a hell of a game and got stats that he didn't have the game before, even though I thought he played decently. I also thought it was interesting, and something that I liked with this game and lineup was Neto over Sancho. I know the United boys love that,
Preach
but I
it.
think Pedro
Preach
Neto called out.
Sancho doesn't get through on that goal. Neto's pace just
I agree.
Absolutely.
I 100% agree. I think Neto starting for us. I also just the fact that we have that depth and we're able to do that, like switch our starting wingers and be completely okay with it and still. Sorry,
My team can spend $1 billion every year.
Throughout the entire game, obviously Hoover was like sitting next to me. He was watching one TV, I was watching the other, and
Even that Timo Werner coming on in the 75th.
I go, Timo Werner. Oh, we're bringing on Enzo Fernandez. Sick. And it was a good feeling. Our depth is crazy, but like I was saying, Pedro Neto in on that. Great ball to Nico. Great finish. And then the second goal, once again, me and Hoover obviously watched it together. The defender not stepping on Cole Palmer when he's at on his lap.
Bro, it had shades of the United game. It's like, how is nobody there with him?
Yeah.
Dude, he walked through the middle of the field.
Potentially the best player right now, and just was able to get on his left and
So
finish.
bad.
Great finish. But back on the score sheet again. Obviously, we allowed a goal. I once again told Hoover at the start of this game that we would allow a goal because I just defensively we're so shaky, and I think someone that I used to give a lot of praise to of I shouldn't say back then, but was Levi Colwell, and he's had some rough performances of late, marking and getting stuck in wrong situations and diving in, kind of bit us this game as well. But all in all, happy with the 3 points and happy to see Cole back on the score sheet. Anytime Chelsea can get 3 points and Cole can score a goal, I'll be a happy man. So
I think he needs to stay playing through the middle, to be honest with you. I think that him being able to get on the ball as much as possible versus playing out wide where you have like half the touches, it just doesn't make sense to me. Like,
yeah, I want him to be our point guard. I want him to start every single attack. I want him to come get the ball, and I want him to move it forward.
We forget that Newcastle also probably should have had a second. Like,
yeah,
that one open net for Isak is doing fucking step overs to dribble it towards the middle and could have slotted it to Joelinton for
shaky defense. Shaky defense.
Newcastle can break. Like, we know that about them. Isak's a dog. It's a lot of those things are true, but
we also could have had more than what we like 2 goals. Like, we had a great chance.
Tight game. Like, and it never looked like Newcastle were going to run away with it by any means. Like, Chelsea had the dominant half of what I felt was good play. But like, that's the thing about Newcastle is boom, instant guy on the wing, Anthony Gordon, tap in Isak. They hit you so fast. So no, I mean, everyone wants to beat Newcastle all the time, and some people can't. So that's a solid 3 points.
Yep. Also, shout out Lewis Hall, old Chelsea boy, getting the assist to Isak. We're
Did
just
he
kind of
celebrate the assist?
We're just kind of dogging Lipple on this hoove. The man was celebrating when Cole scored because he hit his parlays.
He had a parlay with Cole scoring.
He was like, both of us were celebrating when Cole scored. I'm like, we're beating you right now. And he's like, I don't go with parlay. And I'm like, you're an idiot.
It couldn't have been me, bro. It couldn't have been
He knows
me.
where his allegiances are. He knows where his allegiances
He's like,
are.
I have $65 now, dude.
It is kind of crazy to say, and I don't want to like give them too much credit because I think it's still early in the season. But Nikki, I remember over the last like 2 years since the Bowley era came in, Chelsea has gotten no shortage of flack about their recruiting, about their signing all these young players for $1 bajillion. But now you kind of look at the league table, and of course Cole Palmer has a big part of that. It's not just Cole Palmer, but you look at some of these other guys who are really finding form. Do you think that maybe the boldness of Todd Bowley of signing all these players is finally getting to the point where it's paying off, or is it more so like a Maresca thing that he has figured it out of how to do all this stuff? Like, where do you chalk it up to the success?
I think it's a culmination of kind of some of the points you just hit on, but the big one for me is definitely Maresca. I think he
Who's that
had
again? What's his name?
You're being
Pablo?
Enzo Maresca, the coach for
Pablo?
Chelsea.
I want to call him Pablo Maresca every single time. I truthfully,
Enzo Maresca. I think he's an incredible coach. I think he had a plan. I also think one thing that you've seen consistently throughout the players is that everyone knows where they're at with him. No one really seems to be complaining about their playing time. They're more focused on the competition that it brings, which I'm super excited. I think that's what Enzo kind of brought in. And I think he kind of got lucky because he came at a time when everyone was pretty much signed and he only brought in a couple. I don't even know if he brought really, like maybe a couple here and there he had an impact on some of our late signings, but like some of the players that he is able to coach now, he doesn't have real ties to, so he's able to be very direct with. Like the first person I think of is Mudryk. Like with Pochettino as our coach, he almost was forced to play him because once he's a $100 million signing and he's kind of tied with him and he needs playing time. Whereas Enzo can just come in and say, hey, you're going to have to earn your playing time. That's just the base of it. Also think Mudryk's finding form and him being as a sub right now, I absolutely love. And hopefully that competition/confidence will continue to push him. I love our depth. So I think I said it on the last pod, I'm very excited to watch us on weekends now. And that's not a feeling I've had for the last year. So
yeah, it's pretty impressive.
You guys are halfway, and I mean even halfway decent goalie in anyone but Fofana away from competing.
I think you are stopped.
I watched that Chelsea game, dude, and I know it's the modern goalkeeping shit, but dude, he did not hit an accurate long ball.
Nope.
It's just like
he's a great shot
stupid errors. Yeah.
Everything else is just so atrocious. And I think you hit it spot on. That's the two things that I think if we could not or figure out, we would be a dangerous team.
Good for you all. We get to test you out on Sunday, which is great.
I love that you get a new manager bounce for us. Like
manager bounce. We're watching it at Hen's house. Hen's household will be the Manchester United house. We're gonna be fucking chanting in the living room.
Before that happened, I'm not kidding. I would have been like, 4-0. Like 4-0. Now I'm like, shit. Like fucking new manager. They're gonna
new
be
manager at Old Trafford.
They're gonna be trying to play their hearts out. Oh,
Old Trafford's a fortress.
It's a fortress. Everyone knows it. Theater of dreams, baby. Everyone knows it.
It might be a little cold in Manchester.
A little chilly. Let's talk Tottenham, lads.
We could not
because
no,
let's do it. Let's talk about Tottenham Hotspur.
About the Eagles.
Fly, Eagles, fly.
Yeah, learned that this weekend.
Crystal Palace, tough team to play.
Top team, bro.
Who?
As a dog.
Yeah,
what the fuck is up with Big Ange's tactics, man? Why can't he figure it out against all these bum ass teams?
I don't know, dude. Like, genuinely no idea. We can take this 50,000 feet up, and his away record's terrible. Like, not good. The away record since he's joined has not been stellar in any capacity. You guys are seriously the only team propping that up right now because we were just rolled over when Spurs showed up there. So, I genuinely don't know. Like, I've watched this team for so long, and I've just been having these moments on this pod for as long as I can remember, but it's been every manager, bro. It's been every manager. Name one.
Spursy, bro.
Name one where this hasn't happened. The bartender.
Ryan Mason.
Dude.
I'm pretty sure we talked about it last pod that like
We
you guys just
did.
had a result and
Build
now
Build on it. Into the fucking drain, dude. The bartender at Amsterdam, who's apparently a Spurs fan, he was very unhappy at the final whistle. He was like, it's the same thing every time, dude. I was like, I know, man. I was like, we're the kings of 1 step forward, 7 steps back. And in classic Spurs fashion, we're probably going to beat City's B team in the Carabao Cup Wednesday. It's going to be great. It's going to be so awesome. He's going to play the kids and whatever. We're going to bounce back. It's just mind numbing, dude. I have serious questions on some of his subbing, and I think that he's got subs right in the past. So it's not like we're looking at this, this Ten Hag ish situation where I question every single time somebody else comes on. This one for sure. You're trying to break down a low block. You got 65% possession. You're not getting the ball into key areas, and Matters coming off is probably not the solution. He's had his issues, I think, with Matters this year, and I don't really know what that's about in itself either. But Matters coming off's a problem. Timo Werner coming on. The guy who he publicly talked about lacking all the confidence in the world this week had a fucking press conference about it. Brings him on in a extremely tight game where you need a goal in the 75th minute. Yes, Sonny's out, and I think the whole landscape of the game changes if Sonny plays. But also, you shouldn't have to rely on him, brother. It's Crystal Palace. They didn't score a goal in the first half this year. We gave them their first win. Dude, it's not that hard, bro. Mikey Moore, tough night. Tough night. He had to learn that the Premier League's a little bit different than AZ Alkmaar on a Thursday night in
what do you mean, bro? I thought it was Neymar.
I thought it was Neymar.
He was Neymar
Yeah, bro.
against some Dutch farmers. Yeah, bro. It was great. That's why
That was Anthony.
That's why all those kids that leave Spurs and England, I feel like a lot from the academies, go to the Dutch league and play well. Troy Parrott, he was on that AZ team. He scored 4 goals like 2 weeks ago. Like, it's just, there's obviously levels. Mikey's not going to come in and be the world beater. And Ange has protected him really well from this hype. He didn't want this around him. Matters calls him Neymar. He literally goes, well, I guess he blew the lid off of that one. So, it's like, no, we were not expecting him to be unbelievable. It was going to be a different test against Premier League defense. But still, bro, like, nothing's working. If you can't break down a low block, you can't take your creative players off. Kulusevski's been so good through the middle this year. Don't put him on the wing in the 75th. Nothing was going to change from that. So, I don't know. I can go on a rant and I can explain everything that I think I'm seeing, but the away form is shocking. Going to another team's stadium is a big deal. I think it's more so in this league and European football in general than it is anywhere else. The MLS doesn't have the same level of away atmosphere that should, you know what I mean? Like, it's tough. Everyone does it. The good teams go to bad teams and they beat them. So just do that. I don't have any other like tactical ideas here. We know what's going to be played. We know it's going to be played. Mickey and Romero had absolute fucking nightmare. Romero has had
so annoying, dude. He's fucking Prime Maldini with the combination of like the fastest man alive against us, and then looks like Harry Maguire. Really,
dude, it's unbelievable. Yeah. So he was at fault for the goal. I mean, like, wholeheartedly. Mickey didn't clear it either, but he shouldn't have been in that position. It's a 50-50 hospital ball in your box. We're coming up on a world where maybe we rotate him. Dragishin's very much so shown that he is a capable center back. He's I mean, a baller for Romania. Maybe get him a rotation in. He's also got he's a shit age.
Who would you win for?
Romero needs to, sometimes you
You
gotta,
do.
bro.
You
No,
Mickey
yeah,
Dragic.
Mickey's untouchable because you can't play the way that you want to play without him. And I don't ever really feel like he's been the main problem of any sort of defensive issues. It's the collective. So if you're gonna play this way, you're gonna give up goals. I'm not asking for a clean sheet every game. We're not defensive like that. That's the whole point of the inch ball. But someone's just gotta figure it out, dude. And I don't know who it is. I feel like on paper, it's a great back line. Pedro Porro has some defensive liabilities. I think Destiny Udogie's lockdown. I think they're opposite in terms of offensive creativity and not. But, like, what's the issue, dude?
Can we talk about Pedro Porro breaking his
Getting broken?
glute?
Tearing every muscle in his body.
Looked like a guy on the basketball court. Just
Bro, the number one compliment I can give is Eze. We got Eze, bro. It's bald. And in a Crystal Palace team that he has to be the guy for, that was the performance. The flick to set up the goal was objectively
Insane.
disgusting. Disgusting. And that's what you're gonna get for 3 points in Crystal Palace. That's gonna be their year all year. So congrats to him.
We can't get Willow.
The comment is Dr. Tottenham will see you now. Anytime another team's doing really bad and we show up, it just everything turns around. Suddenly we fix you. So
I love that.
yeah, it's stupid. That's very much so a burner one. They love that one.
My favorite thing is that this prep sheet says, are Tottenham's defensive lapses tactical or are they due to individual player errors? And that just kills me, man.
Dude. And the final answer is I still don't know. Genuinely.
I have no idea.
I've talked for 10 minutes now about it and I have no clue what the solution is. So,
But, you'll rally back.
On that one track.
probably,
Back on
bro.
that one track.
Probably, sell a couple more NFL games and maybe have some money in the bank for somebody. But, like, the squad is good on paper.
That's the thing. I'm like, for who? Like,
For who?
you think
Yeah.
a Sonny replacement eventually that has
Sonny
to be kind of at that
replacement.
level of being like a great finisher and
A world-class
reliable,
6 would be great. And, I mean, but, like, that's what we thought Basuma was. That's what we thought
Yeah.
Rodrigo Bentancur was. Like, at some point, you just got to work on the depth. We've got the team's young. The future looks super bright. Archie Gray and like, dude, it's awesome. But I want to win
Neymar,
now.
a young Neymar.
I want to win today.
Same, brother. Same. Another person that wants to win, Arsenal Football Club, but they cannot. A 2-2 thriller. Another game where Arsenal dropped points. And it seems to be that Arsenal's title chances are slipping away each and every game. Our resident Arsenal fan, Lucas Winkleman, I'll give you first crack at this game. Some unfortunate injuries occurred, but you also got some players back for this game. So what do you take away from this game now?
A lot. I want to start by saying how much I hate Liverpool with my entire being. I know Butch isn't here to defend himself, but I actually was asked a couple times last week by a couple people outside of this podcast. And I think Nick even might have asked me on Saturday, I can't remember, but for my prediction, and I said a 1-1 or 2-2 draw, just looking at the lineups. Yeah, it was Nicky.
Because I agree with you.
Yeah, so I'm okay with this result, knowing we didn't have Odegaard or Saliba. I know they were missing some guys too, but Alisson wasn't saving either of our goals. Luis Diaz too was lucky to have even stayed on the field as long as he did. I think he had a handful of fouls on his own in the first half. If that was one of our guys, I have a weird feeling we might have had somebody sent it off.
Boo-hoo,
just
fucking
saying,
poor Crimea River, bro.
Everyone's out to get us.
Yeah.
So, am I disappointed that we went up twice and couldn't hold on? Yes. Were we the better team? absolutely. But I am okay with the result, knowing that we didn't drop all 3 points, obviously. So, but this game was really important for both sides. Arguably, probably bigger for Liverpool just because we were their first real test this season. Super confident that they won't be at the top much longer as the match weeks go on. But I don't know. Highlight of the game was Saka, whatever percent of strength he was at, putting Robertson on fucking toast and blowing it by Kelleher. That made my heart so happy. Declan and Marino bossed the midfield. Declan's best game of the season by a country mile.
What a
The
ball.
ball is sick.
Bro.
What a ball.
Yeah.
He took it. They like zoomed in on him and he took like a deep breath. And I go, this is about to be a peach.
It was a piss missile. And so add that to our list of set piece goals. And thankfully VVD's fat ass foot kept Marino on side. But
I think he should have been sent off. Like 100%. I think Virgil should have been sent. Dude, that was like, what the fuck was that? Any other team that's like, they at least review that.
The aura, bro.
I thought that was suspect.
Wild.
But I don't disagree on the goal at the end of the game, though. I know there was some not favorable opinions on Twitter. I have more issue with VVD at least being looked at for that one than there were a couple.
Yeah, because they seem to be looking at a ton this year. So what that criteria is obviously isn't public knowledge. But yeah, as far as Declan Rice goes, phenomenal game by him. I think that game showed that he needs to be playing at the 6 versus the 8 for us, especially when Marino's on the field at the same time. I think those two did really well together. And with kind of a makeshift back 4 of sorts, I thought that Partey did very well at right back. And aside from one mistake prior to injury, Timber almost completely shut down Salah on the right wing. We continue to, so every game that we've played without Odegaard this season, we've had to play from the wings much more than we would versus if he was on the pitch. So I think that we did that very well against Liverpool too, and are gonna have to continue to do that well, going out wide to Martinelli and then that Ben White and Saka duo on the right until he does come back. But that duo on the right was really fun to watch. The Trent and Martinelli battle was fun as well. I'm a little worried moving forward as to the severity of Timber and Gabriel's injuries. Cause
what they say Timber's injury was?
I don't know. I need to see what the latest update is. Busy day at work, so didn't get to research into all those little things as much as I wanted to in preparation for this. I know. Well, as soon as this becomes our full-time job, I'll be fucking money.
U.S. men's national team, are you listening? U.S. men's national team.
Ready? But yeah, what was the first game in a hot minute where Saliba and Gabriel were not on the field for us. There's definitely some takeaways, but we play Newcastle next week. We'll see if either of those guys are back. I doubt Gabriel is. Odegaard, I don't think will be back yet. So we'll see how we line up. Maybe Calafiori goes in the middle with Saliba, which I wouldn't hate by any means. But
you have like 7 center backs. I feel like that's a position you can be covered on.
Yeah. Yeah. But on the offensive side, obviously you're missing, your main target on corner kicks. But with Marino in there, maybe in training this week they kind of put him in that Gabriel spot, for the time being, and we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I'm very okay with Calafiori stepping into that spot more than anybody else, and yeah, kind of seeing what happens. But
I don't know how accurate this daily AFC is, Winks, but it says that it's not long term. He's just undergoing a definitive scan tomorrow.
Okay.
So yeah, so I mean, positive.
That's probably very PR. That's very, very much PR, a PR statement probably, but they can't really say anything until a scan comes back anyways. So
Now,
I'm not going to hold my breath, but yes.
Way too early predictions here. Arsenal are sitting 5 points out of first place on the same amount of games as Manchester City. Liverpool, City are all sniffing around that title position. How do you think this title race is going to play out as the season goes on? Is it going to be a lot of difference early on in the season, or is it going to come down to the wire at the end of the season? Way too early prediction.
I do not know. I don't think Liverpool stays in the top 4 by the end of the season. That might be a hot take, but I don't see them.
Or
That might be a hot take.
I don't see it happening. How long is Jota out for?
Has broken ribs.
Yeah.
So probably a few weeks at least.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I think that I could see Chelsea popping up in there, and then it'll probably end up being between Liverpool and Villa as to who takes that 4th spot. But who knows?
I had
Maybe
the
with
energy to argue you, but I don't.
Yeah. But
you're like, nah.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe United's new manager takes them undefeated the rest of the season. And
Arsenal falling.
I really think that the league's going to be closer this year than it is the past couple. Like, I really think that, I don't know if you guys have watched City closely, but they're not the same team without Rodri. Like, they are 5 points clear of Arsenal and one ahead of Liverpool. Like, I think they're going to drop some points, especially to good teams. Like,
well, I was going to say,
they've been in some games about
good teams around the league.
100%. I think
they drew us and
healthy.
Newcastle. So, more ties than traditional for their team isn't out of the question.
Good.
Not everybody can do it.
Yeah, not everyone can do it.
I do think that we're just so accustomed to City like not making a mistake that like 5 points literally like seems like it's a mountain to climb.
Yeah,
and we're bound to see it happen. And I agree, Dobes. I think that this year is going to be different there. As to how many points they drop and when, I think will be crucial, because especially during match weeks where they might have earlier games in the match week than, us, for example, or anybody else in the title race, like how they do, may affect morale of some sort, whether with managers or with players, seeing their results. So I think if they're able to drop points at the right time before, a team like ours or another contender, has a match against a specific team, then that can definitely impact the results of other teams, seeing them drop points early on in the match week. So it's definitely possible. We just got to keep taking as many points from each game as we can, and win the ones that we're meant to win.
City's a Kovacic injury away from Sir Johnny Stones as a 6, like which isn't terrible, but like
we don't
whoa.
Oh no.
Only reason that sucks is John Stones can't stay healthy either. Like, you know what I mean? Like he goes through spurts. I hope it's close. We'll see.
They'll sign someone in January for sure.
Oh, for sure, 100%.
Gentlemen, we have one more huge game to talk about this weekend. It's El Clasico. The game watched around the world, Real Madrid versus Barcelona. We don't cover La Liga too much on this podcast, but it's getting really, really hard to ignore Barcelona this season. I mean, a 4-0 domination against Real Madrid at the Bernabeu. It's just, Barcelona continue to be amazing. What was it? In the starting lineup, they had 3 17-year-old kids.
21 or younger.
Yeah, I mean, the youngest team out there in Hansi Flick is a miracle worker. There's a stat that I read this week that since the beginning of the season, Barcelona has forced 73 offsides calls, and the next closest team was Brighton at 36. So almost double the other highest team in Europe's top 5 leagues with offsides calls. They played that high line, they live and die by it, and they're executing it to perfection. So what stood out to you all in this game? What did you love? What did you not like? How good are Barcelona this year?
I continue to just find more and more reasons to not like Mbappe. Like, I didn't know that it was possible, but it's just like he's an infuriating human being. And like,
I think we all knew this was coming. Like, we all kind of saw.
I did not
this.
expect him to be as bad as he is.
I expected him to bow the knee to the Real Madrid. Like, he's not big. He's bigger than PSG, and arguably some could say he's nowhere near as big as Real Madrid. And it's just like they tried to expose the high line. I think there was a stat, and I could be wrong. I think he was offside 8 times in the first half.
Yeah, 8
or 9 times in the first half. And they could have scored a few goals, but at the same time, like, this Barcelona team is just different, man. And they don't have, like, Gavi wasn't back. Frankie de Jong is still not back. Araujo is still not in that lineup. And they're just flying. Like, Yamal is probably the best young player in the world. Rafinha is rejuvenated. Arguably one of the most informed players in the world as well. Like, this Barcelona team is fun to watch. They're really, really fun to watch.
I want to give a massive shout out to Pau Cubarsí, center back, because obviously, like, we're all stoked and super high on Lamine Yamal, but what he's doing at 17 years old genuinely is unheard of.
Like that too.
That's the thing, to be a 17-year-old center back
against 2 strikers in Vinny and Mbappe.
And he's pocketing them. You know, like, the thing is
what Yamal is able to do on the wing is be really creative. And as a youngster, I think that's easy to do. But as a young center back, to be like disciplined, responsible, and like play a position like that.
Totally different. That's a good look. Yeah. You're right, 100%. There's more freedom in being creative. For sure.
Yes. There's not as much discipline. You just don't have to be that. But to be 17 years old and to lead that line the way that he does. And Inigo Martinez has also been playing really well this season. Last year, he was kind of in and out of the lineup, but he's really held it down at that left center back spot. But Hansi Flick has this team on strings. You know, Mark Caicedo, the 21-year-old in the middle, just, you know, pops up in preseason, decides he wants to play like Busquets, but just more mobile. It's hard to ignore this team, man. Lewandowski, I mean, how many times last year were we on this podcast saying, like, get ready to learn
MLS, buddy?
Yeah, that's what it was. But I mean, he's playing super well, and they're relentless. They're playing strong. Mind you, Szczesny, they signed Szczesny out of free agency, and he's being kept on the bench because this Iñaki Peña kid is playing out of his mind too. So, I mean, they're not a perfect team. They're still going to struggle throughout the season, but can't say enough good things about them in the fight that they have.
How about Yamal hitting the Calma at the Bernabeu, and then also doing the Real Madrid dance
Vinny
at
dance.
the Bernabeu?
Yeah, so good.
But 17 years old.
The thing is, guys, this Real Madrid team has a lot to work out. You know, mind 100%. You, they are the defending Champions League champions, you know, so like they have come out this season, and a big part of it is forcing Mbappe into the lineup. There's no question about that. Mbappe's goals this season have primarily been from penalties. Jude's being forced to play a little bit deeper. Now, Jude hasn't been the world beater that he was last year, but Vinny and Mbappe are taking up the same spot. Like, we all kind of saw it coming a little bit of like, where were they all going to fit? But there's a world that we're halfway through the season and Mbappe starting on the bench, because like, it's just getting too long, you know?
I don't think that ever happens, but it should.
It's just, it's tough to watch. Yeah.
I mean, it's no secret that Mbappe is at his best when he's out wide. He can run into space. It's like they're trying to play 2 up front, and they're kind of not making the same runs, but it's more so like, if you look at the Real Madrid team, when Vinny was, you know, we'll get to Ballon in a second, it's like they were playing like a target guy in Jude. You know what I mean? Or they were
playing there.
Or they were changing the way that they played at 9. Now they're trying to find 2 fast, pacey guys that like to get in behind. And as a defense, it's like, you know what they're going to do every single time. They're going to try to get in behind. And Ancelotti has a problem to figure out. Like, he can't find the right way to use Jude. He was kind of playing on the right as a 6, a little bit as an 8. And you got Camavinga, Tchouaméni, Valverde. Like, he's having trouble fitting all of his stars on the field at one time. And it's just not clicking.
A lot of stars.
At the same time, we all know they're going to end up in May, and they're going to have the Liga and the Champions League, and it's just, they're going to do it again.
But getting beat 4-0 at home it's an
historic Clasico. Yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%.
It's substantial.
Feel bad for whoever plays Real Madrid next, though.
Yeah, but I mean, it just goes to show, like, when you look at that lineup, like, there's some glaring, you know, absences from that lineup. primarily Toni Kroos and Luka Modric. Like they're obviously Toni Kroos is retired now, Luka Modric is coming off the bench, but Danny Carvajal as well, down with an ACL. Like you look at where's the leadership coming from, and Tchouaméni wears the armband on the field. So it's like it's tough to see. Rudiger is still like a whole, hold it down defender, but they're losing a little bit of that persona. So yeah, Ancelotti has a lot to work out. They'll change some formation somehow and it'll all work out for them. But I think now, like Dobes, you hit on it, it's a great time to bring up the Ballon d'Or was announced today, and Rodri from Manchester City was the winner of the Ballon d'Or 2024, which is a little bit controversial for some people, depending on what side of Twitter you're on. There's the two main camps of Vinicius Jr. and Rodri. Was justice served on this one, y'all? Like, do you all feel like Rodri was the right pick, or do you feel like Vinny really had a shot?
I think Vinny had a shot, but I think Winks said it best in the beginning of this podcast that I think football won in this, because I feel like the defensive center mid doesn't get a lot of love when it comes to these kinds of awards. And I think Rodri in the season that Manchester City had pretty much off his back. I know obviously they have crazy amounts of talent, but we've seen it now when he's not on the pitch, what type of impact he can provide for them. I think it was super well deserved, and I'm actually really happy that he did win it, because as someone who has played center defensive mid, it's definitely not a glamorous role.
Definitely not a glamorous role. I could have seen it go either way, to be honest with you, like just from the performances. I am never going to wake up in the morning saying I cannot wait to watch Rodri play. It just does not give me the joy, does not give me the excitement. Vinicius does. 100%. He for me, with all the bullshit and the antics that he has on the field and getting in the other team's face and whatnot, I think he's absolutely electric on the ball. And what I love most about him is how hardworking he is off the ball. There's so many flair players in the world that do not put in the work ethic that he does on both sides. But the big thing that I have a huge problem with is Vinicius not showing up to the ceremony, and none of the Real Madrid players or staff showing up to the ceremony as well. And granted, this is like the media circus. Like no one from Real Madrid has come out and said, well, we're not going because Vinicius should have won.
They won the team of the year and nobody was there.
Yeah, I just think that's horrible. Like that's horrible to see. And I mean, forever, how many years did we watch like Messi and Ronaldo show up to that ceremony regardless of who won? But the thing is that I think this is not just unique to the Ballon d'Or, but I love Fabrizio Romano, like the David Ornstein. Like I love that. But it ruins so much of the excitement of like tuning in for the Ballon d'Or and seeing what happens with like the draw and who wins, because you know about it like days in advance.
It's a double-edged sword, I think, too. And that was the point that I was making in the group chat earlier. It's like, some of this transfer stuff was really fun when you didn't know who was going where. There was rumors, but then it's like, now you can lock it in days before anyone on the club side can confirm anything because of this. So it's just the state of football journalism, which, again, JP said it, you can't blame the guy for doing his job. Someone's going to leak that information if it's not him. He just has to be the first. It does. And like, yes, it was Messi and Ronaldo for 2 years, and you almost always knew who it was going to be, but they were there, like Harry Kane was never winning the Ballon d'Or tonight. He was there, Garnacho, all these guys, like, it's a big deal. Like, you want to at least show up and support a little bit and take the plaudits where you're able to get them. So yeah, I don't like that move from them, but it does raise, like, would Ronaldo have been going to the Ballon d'Or ceremony if he had known 2 days before, the event that he wasn't going to win?
On one of them.
Like,
yeah.
That's part of it, though. Like the pictures of Messi and Ronaldo sitting right next to each other, like making pleasantries, like little Cristiano meeting Messi. Like that's where this is the event where the whole world is supposed to come together and like look at the past year. And it's that's one of those things. JP said it perfectly. It more and more I respect Real Madrid, but more and more I hate Real Madrid the more the years go.
Yeah, You're right.
I think this was a really bad move. I was actually very surprised by Real Madrid that they did this, because while they have historically been one of the best clubs in the world, they've always been pretty classy as well. And this was a really bad move. I did not like that at all.
I think Rodri. I truthfully think if you look at overall football, and yes, I guess you could say that, like, if you're looking at who's more important to the team, yes, Vini's important. What do you have, like 44 goals and assists or something last year? Like,
yeah,
he was unbelievable. But like, Rodri is just, dude, he's the best defensive midfielder in the world by a long shot. Like, they didn't lose for 50 something games when he was in the team. Like,
he had one loss between international and club in the year.
And it's crazy. Like, the people on Twitter that are like, this is the year that the Ballon d'Or falls off. It's like, well, yeah, we were blessed for 20 years of it being the two best players of all time, 1 and 2. Like, what the fuck did you expect was going to?
There's
like,
two
of
things.
Course.
It absolutely has fallen off. Like, the state of it has fallen off. Even if Vinny won, I would say it's fallen off. But what are you going to do? Like, you look at the last 10 years or however long those two guys were neck and neck in the world. Like, you don't have to dislike Vinny to dislike the action. And I think sometimes, especially on Twitter, it's just so misconstrued. Like, I think it's absolutely terrible, the racist abuse that he gets in Spain. It's absolutely disgusting. I also don't like some of his antics on the field, like where he's just letting the ball roll by. He's about to throw it in. He's like, oh, drops it.
The Kimmich thing it kills me.
Like, I don't like that either. But it's fallen off because Messi and Ronaldo aren't doing it. Like, there's no one that's filled those shoes, and there may not be anyone to ever fill those shoes again. So I think it's a cool time for a defensive winger or a defensive midfielder win it, because when was the last time a defensive-minded player in general won it? And with the influence of
Cannavaro.
Dude, if you watch City at all, it's different. Like you said, without him this year, we're going to see City struggle a little bit. Let's be real. But it's different. Like, that team is not the same. People are like, oh, he doesn't even score goals. It's false. Rodri scores worldies, brother. He scores his missiles outside the box.
Important ones, too.
Exactly. Huge moments, huge games. None of that can be taken for
he's
granted.
like, all right, I'm sick of this passing shit.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to put this on my back really quick.
Yeah.
I also think it's just, we're to the point now without a Messi or Ronaldo. Like, we're to the point where, in my honest opinion, like, the best player in the world switches between weeks and months.
Yeah, totally.
Like, I just don't think that there's a clear, like, we could be going 2 weeks from now and Mbappe could have scored 7 in 3 games. Like, it's possible. Like, I just don't. Cole Palmer's another great shot. Like, it just goes to the fact where, like, there's nobody that's head and shoulders above the best. I do think Rodri deserved, but, like, this just makes us lucky that we grew up with Messi and Ronaldo. They were clearly 1A, 1B. Yeah,
that's the takeaway here for sure.
No one was even sniffing their boots.
No.
But gentlemen, as we wrap up tonight, I want to invite the listeners once again to head to the link in our bio, as we are working with the U.S. men's national team for the game that's coming to City Park on November 18th. When you click the link in our bio, you will have the opportunity to get some discounted tickets wherever you want in City Park. Get some really great tickets, get some up top tickets, whichever you prefer. We will be balling out on that game, where we're going to try to see if Hoover will go kiss Pochettino or something. I don't know.
I'm going to take off my shirt, and it's going to be great.
Just sign my shoulder. I'll get it tattooed. But as always, from us at the Mecca of Banter, we appreciate you. Check out our socials, our Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Until next week, fellas. Cheers.
Cheers, boys.
Cheers, lads.